Coming up on Valley View News. Who's taking over late Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat? Democratic Senator LaFonza Butler says it won't be her. Plus, the Israel-Hamas war continues. President Biden seeks more than $105 billion of aid to Ukraine and Israel. And as Halloween approaches, the union representing Hollywood actors tells members to not wear certain costumes. We tell you which ones.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Warren Lopez.
And I'm Leah Villalpando.
Pepperdine University is remembering the lives of 4 students who were struck and killed after a speeding car crashed into them in Malibu.
Families, we as a community want to hold space for your grief.
The university held a memorial for the victims identified as Neve Rolston, Peyton Stewart, Asha Weir, and Deslyn Williams. All 4 students were set to graduate soon. Fellow classmates, friends, and family members attended and spoke at the memorial. Weir was an English major, while Rolston and Stewart were studying business. Williams wanted to be a veterinarian. Authorities say the 22-year-old driver was initially arrested, but was released as the investigation continues. A sobriety test indicated he was not under the influence when the incident happened.
Meantime, the crash has generated intense reactions, not only come from the university, but residents of the city of Malibu as well. Protesters gathered in near the crash site demanding improved safety along PCH. Community members say the stretch of road has for years caused too many deadly crashes, so they're now calling for speed cameras, lower speed limits, and active patrols. Many residents want an increased law enforcement presence too. The city and Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath are asking Governor Gavin Newsom to help.
A driver is dead after his vehicle crashed with a semi-truck in downtown Los Angeles. The LAPD says the crash happened on Alameda and 8th Street at 3 a.m. on a Saturday morning. The larger vehicle had the green light, and the other driver didn't brake due to the road's lack of marks. The victim who died has not been identified. The semi-truck driver survived. Authorities say speed was a factor.
In Torrance, the Del Amo Fashion Center is increasing its security amid the recent fights and brawls among teenagers. Authorities are trying to take more action to protect the businesses and shoppers. With the holidays coming up, concerns over smash and grabs have been increasing, along with the violence involving teens. A video from Catch Up Feed shows many teenagers running to watch a massive fight, which occurred at the mall in August, where police responded. They say violence will not be tolerated. A Moreno Valley mall is increasing safety as well by requiring minors to wear lanyards to show their name and contact information.
Nearly 700 Providence St. Joseph medical workers are now on strike. The strike is expected to last 5 days after beginning on Monday. Workers are demanding for better working conditions, saying they are understaffed. Employees had previously fought the same issues in August. St. Joseph's management has brought in replacement workers for those who chose to go out and protest. The 2 sides will meet to try and reach an agreement when the 5-day strike is over.
Commuters wanting to avoid the freeway now have another option. Valley View News reporter Lauren Hanna has more on how a new choice is rolling out.
3, 2, 1.
From groundbreaking to ribbon cutting. Santa Clarita's 4th Metrolink station is now open.
It's a transit hub for both trains and buses, and it's a part of history.
The 2 railroads between San Francisco and Los Angeles were brought together about a mile from Vista Canyon in 1876. Much of the backbreaking work was done by Chinese immigrants.
We stand on hallowed ground, consecrated by the blood, sweat, and tears of 3,000 laborers of Chinese ancestry.
Their work continues to give options for residents and commuters.
Whether they choose to use our trail system to walk or to bike to the station, or to use public transportation and get dropped off at our bus transfer station, access to alternative transportation in Santa Clarita just got a whole lot easier.
The plan from the start was to make the community car optional.
This gives them an option to not have a car because they can walk to the station, walk to the bus station. I mean, it's other ways to get around.
Jim and his team had to get around several roadblocks that held the $37 million project back for years. but they kept the goal on track.
We've just tried to take a positive approach and keep working the problem and do the best we can to get to the end and hope we can get there.
Getting from point A to point B was the mission all along. With the station's opening, local residents can do just that.
It's on the way, it really is, and it is pretty unbelievable, to be honest, that it's here.
Reporting from Vista Canyon, I'm Lauren Hanna, Valley View News.
Thank you, Lauren. Though the new center opens this week, it's unclear how the ongoing Santa Clarita transit driver strike will impact the bus transfer station.
Live Nation has officially announced the 5 Point Amphitheater is closing. The announcement was made on Instagram when the venue abruptly shut down last weekend. The Zac Brown Band were the last to put on the final performance. The amphitheater opened in Irvine as a temporary venue in 2017, but with the idea to build a permanent one. City officials rejected construction proposals due to concerns of the size and loud noise from the shows. Live Nation says it still wants to build a permanent venue somewhere in Orange County. Popular artists like Weezer, the Backstreet Boys, and Luke Bryan have all performed there in the past.
The unions representing Hollywood actors and major studios are set to resume negotiations this week in hopes of ending a month-long strike. SAG-AFTRA, which represents actors and studios, are still in contention over compensation for streamed content, the use of artificial intelligence, general wage increases, improvements in health, and retirement benefits. Negotiations between the two groups resumed earlier this month, but quickly broke off again after the studios said the union's demands were not reasonable. SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher said the studios have not bargained in good faith. SAG-AFTRA and Hollywood studios will return to the bargaining table on Tuesday.
In other news, San Fernando Councilwoman Cindy Montañez has passed away. The politician and environmental advocate was known as the youngest person ever to be elected in the San Fernando City Council and the youngest elected into the California State Legislature. Back in August, the LA City Council renamed the Pacoima Wash Natural Park after her. The park is now known as Cindy Montañez Natural Park. Montañez is known for being a trailblazer that advocated for environmental justice, climate change, and housing issues. Prior to her untimely death, Montañez was diagnosed with aggressive terminal cancer.
Democratic Senator LaFonza Butler has announced she won't be running for a seat next year. It comes after Governor Newsom nominated Butler to vacate late Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat. The senator leaves what could have been a steep race for the seat. She tells the New York Times she will continue to cheer on for California for the rest of her term. However, she says leaving the race is best for her personal future. She made history as the first African-American LGBTQ member to enter Congress and the only black woman senator overall in the chamber. Prior to joining the Senate, Butler was a Democratic insider and a former labor leader.
House Republicans are scrambling to select their new speaker. A majority of the House Republicans signed a pledge last weekend aimed at saving the GOP's next pick from a vote-counting trap. It comes nearly 3 weeks after Representative Kevin McCarthy was ousted from the top post. The 2-paragraph pledge says to vote yay for whoever wins the House Republican conference backing in the initial secret ballot election. House Democrats say teamwork is needed to get back on track.
The only way to do it is to figure out how we can partner in a bipartisan fashion to reopen the House and govern in a reasonable, common sense way.
At least 4 speakership candidates and the chair of the Republican Study Committee have signed in favor of the pledge.
The Israel-Hamas conflict is now going on its second week as death tolls continue to rise in Gaza and the West Bank. Our international anchor Daniel Herrera is in our digital media center and will have more developments in a few minutes. But for now, we will look at its local impacts. Many demonstrators in downtown LA's Pershing Square call for an end to what they call the Israeli occupation. Many signs denounced Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, as a war criminal. Other protesters said the situation is neither a war or conflict, but a full-on genocide. It is one out of the many rallies that occurred across the country.
More to come on Valley View News. As the death toll continues to rise in the Israel-Gaza war, aid is finally being transported to Gaza, but regional leaders say more is needed. Our Daniel Herrera has the latest, including how President Biden is planning to help. Stay with us.
How you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Thank you.
A place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back. Let's get right to updated news from overseas in Israel. Daniel Herrera is in our digital media center with how the humanitarian crisis is worsening. Daniel.
Israeli forces continue to engage inside Gaza as the military is ramping up airstrikes on the Palestinian territory. It comes 2 weeks after Hamas' unprecedented October 7th attack that killed 1,400 Israelis. As Israeli strikes are pounding the Palestinian enclave, aid agencies are warning that hospitals are running out of fuel. An Israeli force spokesman says their strikes will continue to increase as they minimize the risk of their troops in the next stages of the war and will continue to destroy terror targets. Though there is still no detail for the possible Israeli ground offensive on Gaza, the United States has commanded Israel to delay their ground operations to grant release of Hamas hostages and aid into Gaza. A Palestinian father and son were killed after being transferred to a nearby hospital. 62-year-old Ibrahim Wadi and his 24-year-old son Ahmad were on their way to a funeral to mourn the losses of 4 Palestinians who were shot dead by Israeli forces. Then, they were shot in a small village known as Qusra. Family members of the 2 victims tell CNN that both of them died in the hospital. The Palestinian Ministry of Health says that the father and son are 2 of at least 100 of the people killed in the West Bank since the conflict started October 7th. The death toll is expected to rise. The massive blast at Al-Ali Baptist Hospital in Gaza killed hundreds of innocent lives who were being sheltered. Palestinian officials say the ongoing Israeli strike is what caused the lethal incident. The Israel Defense Forces deny any purposeful involvement in the bombing of the hospital. Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus tells CNN that the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group are the ones to blame for the failed rocket launch. Hospitals are continuing to struggle with assisting those wounded across the territory and shortages of electricity and water. On Monday, more needed help arrived in the region. A 3rd convoy of trucks carrying tons of humanitarian aid finally entered Gaza from Egypt after the Rafah border crossing briefly opened again. Egyptian border officials said the trucks were carrying food, water, medicine, and medical supplies, but no fuel to keep the emergency service system running, leaving many Gaza hospitals out of service. The United Nations Under-Secretary General says the UN has been in incredibly detailed negotiations in order to enter Gaza.
We need to be able to have the assurance that we can go in at scale every day, deliberately, repetitively, and reliably.
International leaders are calling for even more help to combat the humanitarian situation in Gaza. The head of Palestinian National Initiative said Gaza needs at least 7,000 trucks of immediate aid to make a difference. The Biden administration is seeking $105 billion to provide aid for war-torn Ukraine and Israel. The administration says the money will be part of a package which provides security assistance for the 2 countries and addresses the global humanitarian impact of the attacks from Russia and Hamas. More of the $84 billion would go to Ukraine and Israel. The administration faces challenges in securing the funding by selling it to American public and to Congress, where the House of Representatives remains locked from the battle of the Speaker. And that's the very latest from the Digital Media Center. I'm Daniel Herrera. Back to you in the studio.
Daniel, thank you. Here in the U.S., medical marijuana is set to be sold at pharmacies in Georgia for the first time in the nation. People who meet Georgia's conservative medical cannabis law are expected to be able to buy low-dose tetrahydrocannabinol products at their pharmacy by the end of this year. Officials say 130 local pharmacies have already agreed to sell these products exclusively. Georgia law states that the THC content being sold can only be up to 5%.
Rite Aid will be closing 154 stores after it filed for bankruptcy. The chain filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy earlier this month after its struggle with debt and slow sales. Rite Aid stores are set to close mostly here in California, Pennsylvania, and New York, as they have been the most impacted states. The stores in Burbank, Ventura, and Los Angeles are among the local stores and that are set to close.
A new culinary spot is coming to Panorama City. Valley View News' Leah Villalpando has details on the food hall and the changes it's bringing to the local community.
Everybody ready? Ready! 1, 2, and 3.
The San Fernando Valley's largest food hall has opened its doors, marking the beginning of a new cultural food center in Panorama City. But what makes this location so special to be the host of this hall in the valley? The building manager says the developer believes the area is filled with potential.
He found that this would be a great area to invest in because this building used to be the old abandoned LADWP building. And since we already have an existing food hall in downtown, why don't we bring that idea to here in the valley since there's not really that much of a culinary scene in the valley.
The hall, named LA Chef's Kitchen, will be home to 16 stalls, and amongst those are vendors that sell Greek food, Filipino food, and aguas frescas, bringing opportunities for local food businesses and several culinary choices to the local community.
From an empty lot to San Fernando's biggest food hall, LA Chef's Kitchen is bringing big changes to this community.
By changing the building, it's cleaner. Aldi came, other stores came, and because of that, prices rise. Rent rises, and there's more movement of people, but I like it.
While some Panorama City residents are happy to see the changes, others fear they'll come with rent hikes. Eddie Gonzalez is the owner of Taquito y Mas and the Pacoima Chamber of Commerce president. He welcomes these changes and encourages residents to do the same.
Don't be afraid of change. Obviously, change can be scary for some people, but improvement, if you improve your community and make it look nicer and better, I don't see anything wrong with that.
The city of LA says the purpose of the food hall is to revamp the area. Reporting from Panorama City, I'm Leah Villalpando, Valley View News. The food hall is open daily from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. In other news, Spirit Airlines customers may want to book another flight. 185 flights were canceled on Friday and Saturday, as Spirit says its flight schedule could be impacted for several days. The ultra-low-cost carrier says it's performing a necessary inspection of 25 of its planes. The company has not specified the type of inspection, but the Federal Aviation Administration classified the checks as a mandatory maintenance inspection.
If you are planning to buy a home, it may be a bad time to do so. As housing prices have increased for the last 3 months in a row, mortgage rates are reaching 8%. There were also fewer properties on the market in September than in any previous years. According to ICE Mortgage Technology, each month's payment on a medium-priced home currently calls for 40% of a household's earnings, causing home ownership to be the least affordable it has been since 1984. None of this is likely to change soon, which is disappointing for home buyers. Prices are expected to remain high, inventories to remain limited, and interest rates will climb.
When we come back, the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles could get even more exciting as new sports were officially added. Also, the 2023 Los Angeles Bowl has a new host. We'll tell you who it is. Stay with us.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms.
Thank you.
Is it okay to call you Mom? Of course you can.
Where's your emergency?
Everyone's on their way. What happened? Please get my mom and dad. Oh my God!
If you're buzzed and doing this to make yourself feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive.
Welcome back. Actress Meryl Streep and her husband, Don Grummer, have announced that they've been quietly separated for 6 years. The couple had not been seen publicly since 2018 at the Oscars. However, the actress was recently seen wearing her wedding band last Friday. The couple share 4 children and had been together for 45 years.
Meryl Streep and Don Grummer aren't the only couple that's been keeping secrets. Last week, Jada Pinkett Smith revealed that she and Will Smith have also been separated since 2016. Despite that, Will Smith still showed his love for his partner during a guest appearance during a promotional event for her new memoir, Worthy. On stage, the actor said his relationship with Jada is a sloppy public experiment in unconditional love and described it as beautiful, and brutal. And although they are separated, according to Jada, they are not legally divorced and don't want to. Instead, the couple sees themselves as life partners.
Bad Bunny had his SNL debut this weekend as both the host and musical guest, despite skeptics who were unsure about his ability to host. But the singer clapped back during his monologue.
People are wondering if I can host this show because English is not my first language. I don't know if they know, but I do whatever I want.
He also took a dig at the Grammy Awards telecast that had created controversy after closed captioning during his performance flashed singing in non-English.
Excuse me, can we change that? Can we do it right?
And if Bad Bunny wasn't enough, Pedro Pascal, Mick Jagger, and Lady Gaga all made guest appearances.
SAG-AFTRA has released strict guidelines prohibiting actors from dressing up as popular characters from impacted projects. These include fan-favorite costumes from this year, like Barbie, Wednesday Addams, and Spider-Man. The union told members they can dress up in costumes inspired by generalized figures like a ghost, zombie, or spider, and like characters from non-struck content like animated TV shows. But some actors were not happy with the decision, like Mandy Moore and Ryan Reynolds, who posted their thoughts on the decision and urged them to focus on negotiating. Despite the reaction, the union remains firm on the decision.
The writers' Hollywood strike may be over, but the struggle continues for some Hollywood professionals. Valley View News' Warren Lopez takes a look at a Santa Clarita haunted attraction and the talent behind it.
Behind the scenes of these haunted hallways is the hard labor from many Hollywood studio workers. Monsters, gore, and a good scare. That's what you may think of what goes into a haunted house, like Grizzly Garden, which is hosted by the Dangling Carrot Creative Studios in Valencia. But there's more than meets the eye, and creating this quarter-mile feat was no easy task.
Industry people out of work, there's been strikes. I've been out since February.
And he's not the only one.
And it's how can we get together and do something? A bunch of industry people, and they say, oh, it's Halloween, we can do this.
Makeup artists, set builders, costume designers, actors, and special effects and lighting tradespeople, among other film industry professionals, all contributed to the attraction. And for the approximately 60-plus people who joined together to create Grizzly Garden, they have all been affected by the WGA strikes.
Yeah, it's been difficult as a family man. I have food to put on the table and, clothes to put on the kids and stuff. So it's been stressful.
The haunted attraction gave the workers the chance to not only wield their skills, but also have compensation from lacking work, as all proceeds from tickets and donations will be split to them. With Hollywood talent contributing to the project, many of them say they want to give attendees an experience different from other haunts.
You have film experts working this, you have union people working this. This is another level and an advanced creative mind where you're not just coming from a haunt perspective, you're coming from a horror film perspective.
Grizzly Garden is located on Valencia Boulevard and will be open until Halloween. Reporting from Santa Clarita for Valley View News, I'm Warren Lopez. Standard tickets for the Grizzly Garden range from $20 to $35. In the sports world, more athletes are being given the chance to win the gold. 5 new sports were added to the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympic Games. Cricket, flag football, baseball and softball, lacrosse, and squash are all confirmed by the International Olympic Committee. Since flag football and baseball and softball are now added, MLB and NFL players are being able to participate in the Olympics. The NFL commissioner says the organization is working to get players involved to make flag football a long-term sport. The 5 sports were voted on altogether, with only 2 no's from 90 members.
Some terrifying moments for Los Angeles Rams wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson after being robbed at gunpoint. Law enforcement officials say they responded to a robbery outside of a hotel in Los Angeles shortly midnight on Friday. The Bleacher Report says authorities have launched an investigation, but no suspects have been arrested.
Future NFL Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski is set to host the 2023 Los Angeles Bowl. Gronkowski was announced as the new host of the annual college football game, replacing Jimmy Kimmel. The LA Bowl is played at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood and will feature the 5th-place team in the Pac-12 and the top seed in the Mountain West Division. Gronk is expected to make a big entrance at the game and will present a one-of-a-kind trophy to the winner. This year's LA Bowl game is scheduled for December 12th.
On to some UFC action. Abu Dhabi was in for a treat as the lightweight king Islam Makhachev defeated featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski in the rematch to retain his title. Makhachev's flawless performance ended in the opening round after throwing a brutal head kick, which stopped Volkanovski. Makhachev was able to control the fight by waiting for the right moment to strike in order to get his knockout victory. After the fight, he told UFC President Dana White that he just wants someone to face and does not care who his opponent is.
Halloween is getting closer.
Nick and Ron, here it is.
This spooky season, 2 Sacramento growers broke a new state record at this year's Half Moon Bay's World Championship Giant Pumpkin Contest. Video shows their pumpkin, named Puhaku, broke the record by weighing in at 2,497 pounds. So now, what happens to the pumpkin after the contest? Well, it was sold to a buyer in Sacramento from the Fab 40s neighborhood who's going to carve it and put it on display for Halloween. And that's all for us at Valley View News. I'm Warren Lopez.
And I'm Leah Villalpando. For stories any time of day, see our YouTube channel at Valley View News and our Instagram page at Valley View News CSUN. Thanks for watching.